All right, the barbell back squat. This is a compound movement working through the hips, the knees, and at the ankles, primarily working your quads and your glutes with a secondary effect on your hamstrings. Now, this movement will also be a structural movement, meaning that it loads the spine, which means you also have to engage your core all the way around, especially your lower back extensors, to extend the spine to keep your back from rounding out, which can lead to injuries. So if you're trying to stay functional and you're trying to create a practical movement that is useful for day-to-day sports and life, start your workout with this movement. First things first, let's talk about foot placement. Our feet can technically be as wide or as narrow as we want. Just find a comfortable position, usually starting out at about shoulder distance apart with your toes pointing slightly out. Now, as you're coming down, you're probably wondering, how much do I bend through my ankles, my knees, and my hips? And you're gonna figure that out by balancing your body weight across the middle of your foot, or the tripod foot, your big toe, your small toe, and then your heel. And you're not too much onto your toes or too much onto your heels. We're coming down, make sure our knees stay out. A lot of times people get to the bottom, and as they're ascending, their knees will cave in, going into knee valgus. You wanna turn those knees out and make sure they're going in the same direction as the rest of the toes. If your toes are out, your knees go out. If your toes are in, your knees go in. Now, in terms of depth, you're gonna get about the same amount of growth from parallel versus past parallel, but I definitely wouldn't train through a really short range of motion or quarter squats. Now, if you go deeper, the benefit there is that you will have more flexibility and mobility, and you will get stronger in the joint angles you train at, so you'll be stronger in that bottom position as opposed to only being proficient at parallel and above. Next, we're working on bar placement. There are two ways that you can place the bar on your shoulders. The first is a high bar placement, in which you place the bar on your upper trap, that meaty portion of your upper neck, but not quite on the neck or cervical spine. This is going to be a more upright position, working through your knees and therefore your quads more. A low bar placement, on the other hand, sits right above the rear delts, but underneath the upper trap, creating the shelf, allowing you to hinge more at the hip and therefore working your glutes and hamstrings more. Next, we gotta talk about bracing. We need to brace the core so that our spine does not round out during a squat, increasing the likelihood of injury. Now, you're gonna do this in two ways. One, you're gonna engage your lower back extensors, which causes spinal extension, keeping your spine in a more neutral position rather than flex. Secondarily, you're gonna use what's called the Valsalva maneuver, which is a fancy term for just holding your breath. So you're gonna take a deep breath in, and at the top of your breath, you're holding, and you're simultaneously bracing your core 360 all the way around, like you're about to get punched in the stomach, and that pressure is gonna help support the lumbar spine from rounding. So through those two mechanisms, now you're supporting your spine and keeping it neutral as you're moving through your squat. The last thing we're talking about in the squat is that bottom position. Do you pause or do you bounce out at the bottom? Generally speaking, for more athletic pursuits, I would recommend using a little bit of bounce at the bottom after you've controlled the descent. So you're controlling through the descent, and then a small bounce out of the bottom. You're utilizing what's called the stretch shortening cycle, which is composed of two things. One is the series elastic component, in which your muscles and connective tissues are elastic, kind of like a rubber band. So when you stretch them apart really hard and fast, they're gonna snap back together. Number two is the stretch shortening cycle, in which the muscle spindles, which is a sensory neuron in parallel with your muscle fibers, gets pulled hard and fast through that bounce. That sends a signal to your central nervous system saying, hey, this muscle stretching hard and fast, it might tear. We need to contract or shorten it in response, which also helps with force production. And keep in mind, a faster eccentric on the way down will lead to a faster concentric, but I continue to recommend using some type of control on the way down so you don't get injured and pull your spine out of position.
Book your personal training consultation today